the cross-examination of former Tembisa police officer Rosemary Ndlovu is set to resume in the Palm Ridge Magistrates Court today. It's actually the High Court sitting in the Palm Ridge Magistrates Court. Yesterday, proceedings were actually halted after Ndlovu complained of chest pains while on the witness stand. The court also heard testimony from Ndlovu's mother, Mushwana. Our reporter, Mnisi, has been watching the story since it emerged. For much of the week, actually, he's in the studio with us before heading to court this morning. And Linda, it's great to see you. I want us as a start, if we can, to just take stock of the week that's been. From a person who gave a spectacle, in the words you've used, to the Rosemary we saw yesterday asking for some kind of adjournment in some respect because of chest pains. Help us draw those dots and the evolution of her disposition, for lack of a better term.
Okay, so as you put it, on Tuesday, of course, this trial was set to resume on Monday, but we saw a postponement because the defense wanted to further consult with Rosemary. But on Tuesday, what we then saw was that spectacle, Rosemary coming out. Of course, this would be the beginning of her testifying in the witness stand, detailing exactly her version of events. But it was quite interesting because at this particular point, what the court wanted to establish is what her responses are to the evidence that has been brought by the state, the various experts. You'll remember 53 witnesses came to the stand to testify against her. So what is her version of events? What does she make of all the events that have unfolded? And she was, of course, responding. At other times, the judge wasn't quite happy with her conduct and the way in which she was answering. The defense also not helping much, but obviously in the past 2 days, that's where we started seeing a change in emotion, where on the other day, she broke down, essentially, when they spoke about her boyfriend, Morris Mavasa, who she's said to have killed as well. Yesterday, we're seeing her complain about chest pain, saying that she can't continue. Of course, this judge wants this matter to, move speedily, but of course, he has to take into account the rights of the accused and, of course, not being insensitive towards the accused because, of course, at this moment, all eyes are on her.
Yeah, and you speak about the judge wanting to wrap this up quickly. You've shared with us off-air how you're not even taking breaks, at least the kind of breaks you would typically during any kind of court case. But, of course, the build-up, the pressure is manifesting in different ways. And yesterday, we saw her react quite differently to, I think, some of our colleagues in the industry reporting on that story. As a start, we have a quick clip on standby for you. Take a look at what Rosemary did after she left the courtroom, and we'll get you a sense of what to make of that behavior. Look at this. All right, so we don't want to be sensationalist about this, right? But you can't help but notice, Linda, how different her behavior is from when she started with this matter on Tuesday, at least when we called on it. This confidence, this control that she was trying to give off to a person who's clearly losing all of that, at least if that clip is anything to go by.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at that, I was the one that was taking that video, and her interaction with me on Tuesday is quite different to what we've been seeing over the past 2 days. I mean, on Tuesday, she was quite excited, saying she put on makeup because she knew I was coming to court. She had seen me on Monday. On the following day, on Wednesday, she told me I bore her because I'm not wearing a belt. Yesterday, to her hurling her food at me. But what you see is how pressure is continuing to mount on her and how she's continuing to, of course, show different emotions. You'll remember in court there are different people that come. We know that her former colleagues, in fact, her station commander, is always in court. So, you would hear, a bit of laughs here and there, and comments being made while she passes. And at some point, I remember the judge saying, may we please not mock the accused. This is your former colleague. Please treat her with respect. Everyone in this courtroom should be treated with respect. So you see different people. I mean, yesterday, when in that video, as she walked out, it was for the very first time that we see her use the normal entrance that everybody who comes to court uses. And of course, she came into contact with a lot of people who then saw that this is the Rosemary we've been seeing on TV. And of course, cameras came out, people started taking visuals of her, and I guess it's at that point where she lost it.
Sure. A lot of people might be wondering why this obsession with Rosemary's disposition when there are legal matters to consider. But the reason why the story has really captured the attention of many South Africans is because a lot of people are asking themselves what drives any individual person from doing what she's accused of doing. You've explained to us that it's actually quite a complex story to decode.
It is, and I mean, if you look at the layout of the family, her mother, in fact, you know, she's had 2 marriages, where in the first marriage it was Rosemary and her sister Audrey, who, by the way, she's accused of killing. She's the lady who's said to have been poisoned and later strangled by Rosemary. And then there is 5 other children in the Ndlovu family. You'll remember yesterday the defense was set to call Director Ndlovu. He's the only boy, he's the only son in the family, and he was expected to corroborate the issues around the death of Zanele Mota, the nephew who moved into Ndlovu's house and was later found severely attacked at Tembisa hospital. Her injuries rendered her unable to speak. She later died in a different hospital after being released into Ndlovu's care, and she barely spent a night at home. She later died in a different hospital. So he was one of course, the key witnesses, because she then said that he was the one who called her to inform her that Mota was in hospital. Another element of this is the mother's testimony that we saw yesterday. You'll remember she's accused of ordering a hit on her own mother. And the mother then comes to court yesterday and denies that she's ever felt threatened, because there's never been such a threat on her life. You'll remember there was the story of the hitman getting cold feet, asking for water instead of finishing the job. She says, there's never been a time where a stranger came into my house and asked for water. I wouldn't remember all of those things. But another interesting element is her then cracking her alibi in terms of Brilliant Mashiko's death. Brilliant is Audrey's son, who she is said to have killed after he confronted her about the money she's said to have received. Now, in that alibi, she had in fact said that she was in Bushbuck Ridge when he went missing and 2-3 days later found dead. She then says that she didn't know that he was in she didn't know that Ndlovu was in Bushbuck Ridge. All she knew was that she was in Johannesburg, and she was surprised when they called her that Brilliant had died.
Wow. I imagine we're going to need graphs and charts to follow all the information that you've just outlined. But important today, the case is resuming in the High Court, sitting in the Palm Ridge Magistrates Court. Linda Mnisi, thanks very much indeed.